Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and welcome back to our Best of the Rest series. In this video we're going to be talking about the rest of the blue cards spoiled from Born of the Gods this morning. Love me some blue cards! We start with Chorus of Tides, 4 mana for a 3/2 flying Siren with Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets the Siren, scry 1. This is a good card for limited. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer is good. It doesn't exactly scream durable, I get that, but 3 power in the air for anything less than 6 mana isn't terrible. Plus, you might end up triggering that scry a lot. Could come in handy. Deepwater Hypnotist is 2 mana for a 2/1 Merfolk with Inspired. Whenever he becomes untapped, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-0 until end of turn. First off, love Merfolk, so already like this card. Second, I'm glad it's a 2/1. Much better than the reverse 1/2 or a Nightmare 1/1. Lastly, he could make for some weird combat steps. Starting your turn by weakening one of your opponent's creatures can turn the tide of any combat step, especially when the creature being affected has an ability like Death Touch or Double Strike. Cool card. I don't know where it would fit into limited, but it'll find an archetype. Divination gets another reprint, but this time with beautiful artwork. I mean, look at that. Can you imagine that in foil? Oh, it's awesome. Anyway, Divination is 3 mana for a sorcery that lets you draw 2 cards. Pretty standard. We've seen this card a bunch of times before, and it inevitably gets played in draft decks. There were even points when it was used in standard for a limited time. Draw spells that aren't $20 mythics aren't that easy to come by, and Divination does the job pretty well, even at sorcery speed. Eternity Snare is a whopping 6 mana for an enchant creature aura. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Claustrophobia sure got a lot more expensive just to draw a card in addition to the effect, and you don't even get to tap the creature. Without the mana cost, this card is great. It'll still probably see play in limited because it'll act as a pseudo removal spell, but even then, there's a lot of enchantment and aura destruction. The cost is what bothers me here. Evanescent Intellect is 1 blue mana for an enchant creature aura. The enchanted creature has pay 2 mana and tap it to have target player put the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. This might see some fringe limited play. It's cheap to play and cheap to activate. It also enables Inspired fairly easily. Beyond that, unless you can find a way to fit it into a blue-black mill deck for standard, I don't see this getting much love. Flitterstep Eidolon is 2 mana for a 1/1 with a bestow cost of 6. The Eidolon and the creature it enchants can't be blocked. Aqueous Form did this exact thing, but without the +1/+1 for 5 less mana. I'm usually pretty optimistic, but this card is going to be hard-pressed to find some play, even in limited. Unless you have a deck with a ton of auras that you can stick on the Eidolon itself, the bestow cost is very high for what it gives. Granted, when you get to late game, unblockable can be kind of ridiculous, so it might work there. I still have reservations about this card. Oracle's Insight, in addition to having the coolest / creepiest artwork ever, is a 4 mana enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature has tap, scry 1, then draw a card. I love this. This is totally up my alley. It's 4 mana. That's kind of rough, but it's eternal card advantage. Being able to dig through 2 cards in your deck per turn is hugely advantageous in limited. Even if you only get a couple of activations off of whatever this is enchanting, it's worth it. In a 40 card deck, getting through 2 cards a turn is a lot. Really think about it. I'll play this in limited. Retraction Helix is 1 blue mana for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature gains tap, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. This is great. It enables Heroic, it's Cyclonic Rifts for 1 less mana. I love this card. This will definitely see play in limited, and I could see this in a very specific type of control shell for standard. It is a long shot, but this could hypothetically fit into a few decks. Siren of the Fang Coast is 3 colorless and 2 blue for a 1/1 flyer with Tribute 3. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, gain control of target creature. Instant limited bomb. It's either a 4/4 flyer for 5, which we already know is insanely good, or you get to control magic something. The best part is that this isn't an enchantment, so even if the Siren dies, you still keep the creature you originally took. This card is great in limited. Most of the time it'll be a 4/4 flyer, but even then, that's a big problem for your opponent. Sphinx's Disciple is also 3 colorless and 2 blue, but this time you get a 2/2 flyer with Inspired. Whenever the Disciple becomes untapped, draw a card. 5 mana is expensive for a 2/2 flyer, but a card draw engine is never anything to underestimate. Obviously only usable in limited, with some decent inspired enablers, this could generate some serious card advantage. Worst case scenario, just attack with your flyer. Problem solved. Stratus Walk is the enchantment version of Vaporkin. 2 mana for an enchant creature aura. When this enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchant creature has flying and can only block creatures with flying. Without the ability to draw a card, this would be a mediocre aura, but with the card advantage, this is certainly playable in any limited deck. Enable Heroic, gives evasion and card advantage, and only for 2 mana, easily playable. It looks like that's all we have for the best of the rest of Born of the Gods blue cards. There were some interesting cards to see here, mainly for limited. When you guys draft release weekend, which of these cards are you going to be excited to see in your packs? I'm leaning towards Retraction Helix and Siren of the Fang Coast myself. This is going to be one crazy limited format. As always, subscribe below for the latest and most reliable Born of the Gods spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.